coming out tonight. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank Stanley, my cousin, and the 10 Sleepless Nights. All of you, thank you so much for playing for us. Thank Fire Train, who's going to round it up at the end. I want to thank each and every one of you who are listening. I want to thank my mother and father who are listening on the internet in New York. All my cousins, my 81 first cousins, and all the others that my grandparents produced on this soil. I want to thank each and every one of you. Special thank yous go to Teddy. Thank you for stepping out and allowing me to be here, for setting up a wonderful event. Thank you, Lisa James, our event coordinator. And I also want to thank the campaign leadership. Jerry Garcia, Del Min, Popa's grandson, thank you so much for being my campaign manager. Alvin Burke, who is in charge, the man in charge who always keeps us in our place in terms of the grassroots, get out the vote, canvassing. Heather Carty, who is my scheduler and advanced person. Pablo O'Neill. Pablo, are you here? Oh, the treasurer of our campaign. Thank you so much. Marvin Pickering, who could not be here, who was traveling, who is our finance committee head. I also want to thank Jason Charles on St. Thomas, who is heading up my St. Thomas team, and Aubrey, bridging the Gap Bridge water on St. John, heading that up for me as well. And of course, a special thank you to my in-laws, Carla and Gideon Small, my parents, Leroy Plaskett and Magdalene Hendricks. She told me to make sure I get the Hendricks in. And also to my husband out there, Jonathan Small, who is with our daughter, Talia. My son, Israel, is in the back. My oldest son, Jeremiah, is also out here. My oldest son came over from St. Thomas for UVI. And I have 2 other sons. People don't know I have 5. 2 other sons that are still in the States. They couldn't find work home this summer, and so they're working up in the States. They're both in school. Christian, who is studying architecture and engineering at Lehigh, and my son, Ariel, who's pursuing his acting career. That's enough thank yous for the moment. Of course, I'm going to get back to that, but I just want you to know a little bit about myself. My family comes from modest means. Both of my parents are Prussians, Hillsiders. I grew up between the Kennedy Housing Project here, as well as the projects of Brooklyn, New York, Bushwick, Williamsburg, giving a shout out to New York. The other day I spoke with Central High School, and I told them that I understand hard life. I understand gangs and poverty, but not to shun where you come from, but it doesn't define who you are, your total picture. Because I know that my hard-working, proud family was committed to bettering themselves no matter where we lived. My father, Leroy Plaskett's family have a long history of law enforcement. My father was a New York City cop for 30 years. And my grandfather was the Deputy Commissioner of Police of these Virgin Islands. My father's family worked tirelessly to create the Democratic Party here in the Virgin Islands. And my mother's family, the Hendricks, hard-working, some say frugal, diligent people. My great-uncle, Christian Hendricks, the Market Square is named after him, but many people do not know how that man got up every morning at 3 a.m., went to bed late at night to have what he had. And they also don't know about my grandmother, Rosalind Burke, who in the 1940 census was listed as a washwoman. But she was also a professional heckler. And that's how my grandfather met her, as she was heckling for money from opposing politicians in the Market Square on Wednesday evenings. So that's passed on to me. Agitating, advocating, calling people out. That's what I want to do. I have never taken the easy route, as my sons and others will tell you. I have always had the fight to win, to call injustice and to be a forerunner. Tell me it can't be done, and I'll make sure it happens. We are in pivotal, crucial times here in the Virgin Islands. We cannot wait for mediocrity to decide it has had enough. It will never be enough for mediocrity. They will always want what they have. We must push for power. We must push for new ideas, for creative, bigger, broader principles than what we have now. We need our proper share of the American pot. And I say the little piece of crumbs that we're getting is not enough. A vote for me, a vote for Plaskett for Congress is a way to receive that. I've heard it said that I am not qualified for the job, that I should wait my turn, that the person there now has it under control. Well, I have worked in Washington. I understand Washington. I understand what needs things to happen on the Hill. I've worked in congressional offices. I've worked with lobbying groups. I've worked on congressional committees with agencies that testify, and I've done it hearings before Congress. I've even investigated members of Congress. I have been the highest ranking African descent woman at the Department of Justice at my time there. I managed 9,000 attorneys. Josh will tell you that is an unruly group. I have prepared a $28 billion budget for Congress. I have fought with 60 other lawyers that I was heading up against 300 lawyers in the tobacco companies when I headed up the largest U.S. civil litigation against the tobacco companies. In college even, I fought in the anti-apartheid movement and spoke before the United Nations. I have, in the time that I have come back home 7 years ago, prepared and had closed 60 loans for small businesses during my time at the Economic Development, being key in bringing over 20 new companies to the Virgin Islands, worked on legislation to bring multi-use businesses with provisions to protect the Virgin Islands' interests. I think I qualified. I have sat on the boards of non-profit organizations here at home, volunteering time and energy with my husband. I am a wife with 2 small children, and I have raised 3 sons who are fine, contributing men of this community. Who says I'm not capable to be the delegate to Congress? I believe in being the voice on the wall, the body standing and taking up the breach. I will be the leader running the gauntlet against the enemy within and without. I cannot sit back and watch us continue in these crucial times with so many promises left unfulfilled. As I go around to each island and I see so many people, I am encouraged at the fact that although we appear so different on the 3 islands, we are all the same. Our issues and our worries are the same. Families are leaving, not by choice, but by necessity. Businesses are closing, and our retirement system is falling apart. We are failing our schools and our children, and crime is rampant, with no clear future for our children. Are we better off in the past 18 years that our delegate now has been in Congress? Have we better off than we were 5 years ago, 8 years ago? I say not. These are issues that are important, and I'm challenging the delegate to a debate, to several debates on these issues. I want to discuss the issues and not personalities. I am not going to engage in the whisper campaign that other people are engaging in. At this point, shouldn't it just be about the record? Shouldn't it not have to be about my personality or anyone's personality or who may be backing me or not backing me? Shouldn't it just be that that person could run on their record? Shouldn't the delegate be able to show that she has a substantive enough record that she doesn't have to engage in discussions about when I became a Democrat, when I wasn't a Democrat, I haven't paid my dues. Who do I owe dues to? Who do I owe dues to? I think I have paid my dues. Plenty. My family has paid dues. And I'm here to do the work. That's what it's about. The work. Shouldn't the issues be the focus? And not trying to put a record of insignificant things, and not trying to pass off entitlement and monies that would have been coming here anyway, and saying that that's in your press release what you're bringing to the Virgin Islands. We're not falling for that. We know we would have gotten that anyway. Show us something new. Show us something that you bring to the table that's above and beyond what we have right now and what we should have been getting. And you know what I say when I go to the islands? I say, St. Thomians, I hear you with your high energy costs, your rising crime, your broken roads. Big St. Jonians, I hear you with your federal transport issues, land ownership issues, need for a school and healthcare systems. I hear you Cruisians with your loss of jobs, your failing schools, the stagnant agriculture here on this big island, and troubled fishermen. You should have multiple size that you are now. And still in Washington, they're making you go smaller and smaller with the land that you can fish on. As if you're not responsible about what you take from the waters and bring to the people here. These waters should be exporting things, not just feeding ourselves, and even that is being limited each and every year. I hear you, and I am not afraid to stand up and fight for all of us. Why does the Northern Mariana Islands have Social Security introduced, SSI introduced, and not the Virgin Islands? Why does DC, the District of Columbia, offer in-state tuition for its college students throughout the United States when any student from DC graduates from a high school and goes to an in-state college and anywhere else, they receive in-state tuition? Since 2002, Congress passed that for DC. Why not the Virgin Islands? Why is it that there is no other territory that has customs duty imposed on it except the Virgin Islands, with our businessmen losing millions of dollars a year? These are missed opportunities. And I'm going to tell you why I think they're missed opportunities. I say it's failed leadership. Seniority without substantive leadership is nothing in the House. Some of the most powerful members of the House are not the ones that have been there forever. I say it is because we have engaged in Washington in friendships that are one-sided. Friendships that bring at least the people of the Virgin Islands nothing for the amount we have put into that friendship. How is it that the Black Caucus does not co-sponsor any of our bills? How come they are not joining us in the fights that may be difficult? And I also say, shame on you, Virgin Islanders, who sell out your birthright for a ticket to a Black Caucus dinner and a weekend party. Shame on you for selling us out for some contributions of money, like your Esau selling his birthright because he wanted a meal that night. I want to work for the greater good of the people, and our alliances should be for the larger good, not self and family alone. These times are too crucial just to think of yourself. You need to be thinking about the Virgin Islands as a whole and what is good for all of us. It should not be about personality. It should be about the people. I say it's because people can't step outside the box in Washington. They have an inability to cross the aisle when needed. The delegate from DC, a law professor with no vote. This woman has no vote just like us. How is it that she's considered in the top 3 percentiles of lawmakers in Washington? I'm going to tell you why. Because like her, PR, Puerto Rico, the Northern Marianas, America, Samoa, have measures that we don't have because they do not alienate themselves and their people from whomever in Washington is willing to help us. I will work with whomever is about the Virgin Islands. I am about the Virgin Islands caucus, not just the Black caucus. I say it's because in Washington, we have engaged in a fear of taking on the difficult tasks. Customs duty issues. Let's not even go into the lost revenues that we had from the gasoline excise tax. A call for a referendum on our status. The CFO bill is a perfect example. I admit we have issues and we need change in our financial stability and transparency. But rather than rolling up your sleeves and working for that transparency here, finding increased funds for our own Inspector General so that he could generate more audits, have more personnel, advocating, how about this one? Advocating for the election of our Attorney General, rather than one appointed by the governor, who's accountable to the people. Why would you want Big Brother over us when we have to pay for him as well? We have a receiver over our Corrections Bureau. We even have a receiver over our Education Bureau. Has that worked? I don't think that's worked. So what makes us think that a CFO bill is going to work? How are we going to be looking for our own self-determination if we are looking outside of ourselves to fix the problems that we know we have? We need to fix it ourselves. We need to be willing to stand up and say what's wrong and do the right things to make it better. And I don't care if you're sitting in Washington, it's still your problem. You still need to be engaged in local issues. You still need to take a position and not wait to see what everyone else's position is before you step out and say what you think. I will fight for broader alliances, greater relationships, advocacy across the board. Let me tell you, we have a window of opportunity in Washington right now that requires a new level of energy and commitment and skill sets to get issues resolved and bring on new ideas. If you're doing the same thing over and over again and you haven't gotten the best results, why would you continue down the same road?